like I said, it happens, and hopefully some kids can learn from it, but just don't get caught.
I'm down to dunk.
And I'm down to dunk. I'm down to dunk.
This is J-Dub, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Lindy Waters, and I'm down to dunk. I'm Mike Muscala, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Jay Will, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Kenneth Williams, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to dunk.
We say this is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
Cracklin Oat Bran?
Have you had Cracklin Oat Bran?
No.
No. Okay.
But it's healthy.
Are you a big oat brand guy?
I'm a big Oat Bran guy.
Okay.
I think I would switch it with Fruity Pebbles.
Okay, eat faster. Don't put as much in the bowl.
Do you have a gallon of milk I can also take home?
You don't have milk at home?
One cinnamon toast.
Okay.
Yeah. Cereal is great. Yeah.
Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, as always, on Mondays is my good friend, Michele Berra. Michele, oh, what's up?
We need to sign a petition to bring back Mike Muscala. I think we have to.
I agree. I totally agree. We actually have a question about that. We're going to do a little Mailbag Monday. We are going to do a special podcast coming up soon. I thought it was going to be today, but it ended up being another time. So if you saw this YouTube thumbnail that I made for earlier today, little teaser, we're going to have a shooting coach come on and talk to us about all of the Thunder players' shots and just kind of break them down. And so very, very excited for that. So maybe Wednesday, maybe a special podcast. I don't know who or when it's going to be, but it's going to be great. I know it's going to be really good content. So be on the lookout for that. So we do have a Muscala question. It comes from Midnight Ross. He wants to know, assuming that we keep and sign our pick this year, who do we waive or trade to make a spot for Mike Muscala? Now, this is a dream scenario of sorts for you, Michele, to have both Chet and Mike Muscala on this team. And like that's your center rotation.
That's amazing. I don't care who. We can cut whoever to make. Well, not whoever. I mean,
you got to tell me. You got to tell me who is it going to be.
So let's see. It's probably JRE. I think that. I mean, I know that it sounds early, but if they, which is why they won't bring him back, because I don't think that they will cut Jerry.
Yeah.
I don't think that they will cut Trey Mann. He's more likely to be traded somewhere. I can see that. With Jerry, I don't see many locations where hey, let's give OKC a second rounder for Jerry. No. Doesn't seem like a guy.
Yeah.
Maybe if you do a trade where you send out Jerry, but you bring back a player with more salary, then yeah, you can even get assets for that. And OKC has the ability to do that if they like. But this doesn't solve the problem of having a roster spot open. So I think that the guy who I target for this is Jerry.
Yeah. What about Lindy?
No, I think that I would keep Lindy and Wiggins. No, I don't think that we should give up shooting. I think that you can have a night where you bring Lindy in the game because he's dressed up and he scores 3 threes and you win a game. With Jerry, I mean, I think that he needs a different kind of path. I mean, Lindy, he can play 30 games in a year and be effective in 15 of those. I don't think that Jerry is the same.
Mm-hmm.
He needs a role. He needs to play with minutes, and I think that those minutes are for J. Will.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there may come a point where you have to choose between the two just because they're both undersized bigs that kind of do the same thing, right? You know, like both.
Yeah, but Jay Will has a different kind of passing game, which is the main reason. It's not the
Yeah.
charges, it's not the 3-point shooting. It's just the passing game. I mean, Jay will never have 8 assists in a game, in a meaningful game.
Yeah.
I mean, so to me, it's different. And yeah, so you need already to have a roster spot for the first round pick. So you have to basically cut 2, and I think that Sharich and Jerry are the most probable ones.
I think I agree with that. And I would like to bring Mike back. I think Mike is really good for the locker room. Not that they have anyone that's bad for the locker room and they like just need him, but just the shooting, just like the knockdown shooting. I'm not certain this is going to happen. I think it's possible, but it's probably more likely they just stick with Jeremiah and just give him another shot at it than it is that they give that spot to Mike. But who knows? Who knows? I think he'll be available.
Yeah.
Let's see. At Austin Woolish, why don't you guys like Jet Howard is basically his question. He seems to fit the Thunder mold. 3-point shooter, great passer, length for position kind of guy. Great passer would not be one of my descriptors for Jet Howard.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we already discussed him on our Thunder After Dark, Thunder draft show on the OKC Dream Team.
Yeah.
It was a while ago, so maybe we missed the passing part. The Jet Howard I remember is a guy that plays with normal energy, not high energy. Not a very good defender, definitely a shooter, but a guy that will pass if he doesn't know what to do with the ball.
Yeah.
It's not like a pass because I see that pass is going to make our offense better, which is kind of what you need if you want him to be functional in an offense like the one that Mark Daigneault is implementing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't love his feel for the game. The defense is non-existent at times.
Yeah.
Mark would be Trey Manned a lot. He would be the broccoli comments would be coming up a lot with him.
Yeah.
And the Thunder did take Trey Mann. They did that, but they took him in the late teens. They didn't take him at 12. And
12 is high.
I'm
12
I'm skeptical about Jet Howard at that point. If they had the 17th pick and Jet was available, I would feel a lot different. 5 spots is a long drop in the NBA draft.
Yeah.
So that's kind
of imagine the difference between a guy like Tyrese and J-Dub.
Yeah, it's a pretty big gap.
Yeah.
And sometimes guys outperform where they were and who they were. And yeah, I just there's a lot that goes into it, and Jet's really young. He's actually not that young for a freshman, but he's a young player. He's got a ways to go. I mean, if everything works out, like he's a very Tobias Harris-y type of guy.
I was about to say,
yeah,
Tobias is a good comp.
Yeah,
which is not a terrible comp. I mean, he's not Tobias is a borderline all-star.
Really good player. Really, really good player that can help you quite a bit. But would Tobias be the kind of guy that you would want on this Thunder team? No. Not enough of a contributor on defense. Not somebody who's incredibly productive in ways that are helpful to you on offense. He's not elite at anything. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to not think Jet Howard is the guy for this team. And here's the thing, I could be totally wrong. I could be completely off base. I have been before, but I'm just telling you from my feel for this, this is just not it. this is just not it. So, no offense to Jet Howard, but I like his teammate Bufkin a lot more. Kobe Bufkin. I'm way more of a Bufkin guy. In fact, I got to turn this on real quick. I'm a Bufkin believer. So, yeah, that's definitely where I'm at as far as those guys go. Okay, next question. Let's say this is from at OKC Thunder Baby. Let's say Presti quits today to go live in the mountains or something. The person they bring in is the least competent but realistic GM in the history of the league. Think pre-2022 Kings or any era Wizards. What do they do with this Thunder roster this offseason? Oh boy, that would be so terrifying. Because what Presti's trying to do right now is pretty unconventional when it comes to what the NBA is. You know, we see teams do this kind of stuff all the time. Like Cleveland is a good example. And things went well for Cleveland this year until they got to the playoffs. But a normal team, when they sniff any amount of success, it's like, all right, time to go. They hit the gas. You know, they trade for Donovan Mitchell. They were looking for an upgrade somewhere, even though they have all these other needs that need taken care of. The primary need is that their young guys need experience. That's like the number one thing is that these young guys and Evan Mobley and Darius Garland need to get to a certain point in their development for them to be ready to win. And they're not there yet. And Donovan is. And so it creates like this tension where they won a lot of games. That was great. But then when they get to the playoffs, those needs are covered back up, or those needs like poke back up again. Like, hey, still need this experience. And they haven't had it yet. And the only way to get it is by doing it. And so, anyways, I think that the worst GM in the league, David Kahn, would take all these picks and they would trade for somebody to help push along the rebuild.
Yeah,
is what my guess would be.
I was thinking about the name, like John Collins.
Yeah, you could flip
Mikal Bridges.
3 picks for John Collins. I just don't know that Bridges is actually gettable. I know people like to talk about him, but like, did the Nets really want to trade him?
It depends.
I don't think the Nets really want to be good. I mean, you could give them 6 picks for Bridges, and they'd probably say, "Oh gosh, okay, let's go." You know, maybe David Kahn would do that, but
yeah, because there are like
Thunder better next year. There's no doubt about that.
Oh yeah, he would be actually very good. But for how long and to the expense of whom in terms of shooting and like shots and possessions? You can go crazy and probably make an offer for someone in Philly if everything goes wrong. You can go even crazier and try to, I don't know, talk with the Mavs, or I don't know. There are plenty of things you can trade for Kyrie. Like if you really want to, if you really want to have something.
Let's go.
Yeah, is he expiring? Yeah, maybe so.
Expiring, yeah.
So that there are many things. But the worst thing is probably trying to trade for a guy that needs touches, and with questionable work ethics. That is, yeah. Let's hope not.
Or you give Draymond Green the max.
That is possibly better than getting Kyrie.
Oh, possibly. It's definitely better than trading for Kyrie.
Yeah, but that max is going to be good for 1.5 years. Maybe Kyrie gives you 2.5.
Yeah.
Like Draymond, I think, I don't know how long he will play. I mean, he looks amazing in the playoffs. He still does, but less and less. I mean, so who knows? That contract at the end of it is going to be insanely brutal for whoever signs it.
Warriors, probably.
Yeah, I'm curious. I think that they will. It's clear that that the guy who, well, this is a very bad thing that the GM can do. Just trade for Jordan Poole for Poole. That is going to be bad.
Yeah, someone will bite on Jordan Poole. Maybe the Wizards would bite on Jordan Poole.
Yeah, maybe the Mavs.
Somebody's gonna. Yeah, the Mavs. Mavs are desperate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he could be okay for the Mavs, but it's just try something.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. So they're gonna need, if they're gonna sign Draymond to a big deal, Poole's gonna need to be traded to somebody. But that's their problem, not our problem. But yeah, I think the thing is that the Thunder have provided themselves with so many paths and so much flexibility that I think a person without the fortitude and the gumption of Sam Presti are just more likely to be like, all right, I have to play with these toys. Like, let's go. Like, let's make some phone calls. Let's make this team better now.
Yeah.
Like, I see an opportunity in the Western Conference.
Let's
jump in right
still
now.
do. Yeah, let's at least do something. Like, let's trade 2 picks. We have too many.
Yeah, we have too many picks. They're gonna. I mean, and I don't know what players would be available via trade. I mean, you could surely call the Bulls and make a deal with any of those guys.
Oh, that is gross. Like,
dude, that's what a bad GM would do. It'd be like, hey, Zach LaVine's contract, let's go. Dort and picks, and we'll slide the rest into that cap space. We'll become a cap space team. That would be very gross.
That would be bad. Yeah, I like, even I can say that is bad.
At who is just in case over under 1.5 teams jumping into the top 4 on lottery night?
And 1.5, I would say under.
Yeah, probably under. I think it's probably 1. In fact, you want to let's take a little spin and see what happens.
Do I need to concentrate?
Yes, please do.
Do I need to make a prediction?
Yes.
The Charlotte Hornets will get to the number 2.
Okay, here we go. Nope.
Oh, that's bad.
First time you've been wrong. Okay, they fell to 6. The Thunder stayed at 12. Detroit got the first pick. Portland jumped to 2nd. Houston fell to 3rd. Washington jumped up.
Yeah.
So there's the 1 right there. And it messes everybody else up. San Antonio went through this horrific year where they won 22 games, and they get the 5th pick. They feel very similar to the Thunder Giddey draft.
Yeah, which turned out to be. Are you convinced that in 5 years, Josh Giddey is still outside of the top 2 or top 3 players in that draft?
Outside of it?
Mm-hmm.
I think he is. Yeah, he's a real player, man. Like let's go take a look at that draft. Because I do think he is pretty fundamentally. I mean, who are you taking over Josh Giddey today?
I want to ask you about Mobley. To me today is yes, for sure.
Yeah.
But Mobley is also an example of guys that, I mean, in Presti used words about like the fact that the team allowed for J-Dub to get a role. And I wonder if Mobley didn't have the full spectrum of that. Because, I mean, he can't really grow into a more prominent offensive role with how the Cavs is currently constructed.
That's part of the problem with trading for Donovan Mitchell when you have Darius Garland. If it was just like, part of you probably wishes there's an alternate timeline that exists where Garland and Mobley just grow together as like the two, like here's like the force of the Cavs, and they end up in the same spot that they were this year, where they lose in the playoffs in 5 games, and you also don't have that pit in the middle of your stomach thinking, oh my gosh, a lot of people picked us to win. We should have been better. You know, if you don't trade for Mitchell, you have all your picks to use later. And then 2, I think that you feel like, oh my gosh, we're on the up and up. You know, like the Thunder losing the play-in, everybody's like, oh, we're on the up and up. If the Thunder traded all their stuff to get players, and they still lost in the play-in, we'd be like, what a disastrous outcome for the Thunder,
Yeah.
and it's all just because of what you do with the roster. And so I would definitely take Mobley over Giddey, but yeah, there is something to the fact that players need the room to grow, you
Yeah.
know. And Presti talked about that in his 2-hour long session the other day, where he said the team allowed room for J-Dub to grow. The team made room for him.
Yeah.
That is something that is so necessary with regards to growth of players that we don't really talk about or consider as much. Is like, is the team going to have the room for growth? That's where I worry a little bit about Jang. It's like, is there going to be room for this guy to grow into like a bigger role? If we pick somebody who's really good in this draft, maybe the answer is no. You know,
and you really wasted 3 picks, and that is why also the Muscala thing probably will not happen.
Yeah.
Because you may want to see Jang and Pokuševski playing the 4 spot a lot, and they will not start unless something crazy happens where they have the summer of their lives and they are much better than Lou Dort, which is very hard to do. See, getting positive on Lou Dort here, getting
good job.
very warm. Yeah. So I mean, anything can happen at 6. You can get the best guy in the draft at 6. This draft probably not, but you can get the second best, the third best. That can still happen. But this question or this talk was originated by the fact that the Spurs went to 6, and I mean, I couldn't help myself with wondering, hey, Josh Giddey might be number 1 or number 2 in 2 years in this draft.
Yeah, he may. I mean, he was that this year.
Yeah, he was probably number 2 this year.
I mean, yeah. I mean, who would you take over? What season would you take over this one?
Yeah, probably Mobley.
Yeah,
maybe Mobley.
I mean, that's probably it, right?
Yeah, which is insane.
Part of that is because Cade got hurt. I mean,
Sure.
We're not talking about Franz though.
Yeah, he's up there. I wonder. Last year, I think that I would have switched the 2. To be honest with you, this year you can really see what Giddey can do when he's at his best, and I think that what he can do at his best is better than what Franz can do at his best.
Yeah, the thing about keep going.
No, it's way easier to plug in a guy like Franz in OKC's roster. He would be probably perfect to play with Shea, with J-Dub. But the upside that Giddey can give you is much different. So it's just that is why I'm so keen on like having guys that fit around Shea, Giddey, and Chet, because that is going to be important. And yeah, if you sacrifice a little bit of upside in order for those players to shine, I'm all in for that. I know that this is not probably the best way to approach this, but to me is at least a question. Like, but
yeah, Giddey is such a good rebounder. I think that's probably one of like the underrated things about him is that, I mean, he grabs like double the amount of boards that Franz does. And that's a big deal for especially this Thunder team that wants to play small, that want to play fast, that want to play this rhythm type of basketball. It's such a big deal. I would not trade Giddey for Franz Wagner today. Wouldn't even flinch, wouldn't even think about it because, and I talked about this on the Dream Team show on Friday, but I think Giddey is probably the player that gets the Thunder into the kind of offense they want to run the most. Like he's the player that does it. He's the one that turns the key and this thing gets going. He is the one. And to average 16, 8, and 6 whenever you're 20 years old and 19 for most of it is insane. It's insane. And
playing mostly winning basketball, by the way, not on a bad team or anything. Well, Franz is the type of guy where it's not the time because Orlando is on a upward trajectory and they would never, ever trade him. But had their season gone south, where it's like, oh, this is not going well. this is a guy that I think will fit perfectly. There's not a guy like that in this draft, but Franz would have been perfect, a perfect draft target for OKC in this draft, like a guy that can play 2, 3,
Yes.
4, depending on what you need. So you have 3 extremely versatile wings in Giddy, in terms of size, Giddy, Franz, and J-Dub.
Yeah.
This could be the blueprint of a great team.
Yes.
Not sure that OKC can find this player in this draft.
Yeah, I'm not sure that player is going to be there around 12. There's not that kind of forward around 12 in this draft. But yeah, I think Giddy's growth, I think, is going to continue to go upward just because of the kind of player that he is. And I just think that he can be a higher level player than Franz is. Franz is a little bit better shooter, but like it's not like Franz is some elite shooter, you know?
No.
So I would definitely go Giddy over Franz. And James Anderson in the chat said Franz is a better defender, that he had a better true shooting. Those things are true. But when we're talking about playing the kind of basketball that the Thunder want to play, I think Giddy is just a much better fit for that. And we also see the level of competition that he can play to is really a really high level. We saw what he did in that play-in game, in that first play-in game, and it was kind of eye-opening. And he didn't play that way in the second one, but he's 20 years old. He's supposed to be inconsistent. Like that's how 20-year-olds play. But the fact that he has that kind of ceiling was pretty eye-opening. And so I think that he does. I mean, if you were to redraft, I think that Giddy probably goes in the top 4 for sure. And I don't think that that's really that hot of a take.
No.
So, okay. Next question. Let's see. At Trust the Void, do you think the Thunder have enough off-ball movement and cutting? Seems like we have great passers on the team, but not a lot of movement to take advantage of that skill.
I agree. I definitely agree. I couldn't agree more. We need to get more movement off ball, less players that need the ball in their hands to be effective, and overall implementing more screens, more off ball stuff in order to ignite whatever the other ball handler can do. And this is also a way to have Giddy at his best. Like, if he sees everything, he understands the position of a player way before he's in that position. So getting a guy either by a trade or in this draft that can add movement, to me, is a win. Is Jordan Hawkins that guy? He can be. He's not the only one. But sure, getting more off-ball movement is important. And you can learn, you can teach guys to move around. I think that this is a problem of OKC. They are getting better. I mean, if you look at the season before, I mean, it's already way better. But I think that having shooters that can move around is very important. OKC doesn't have many of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's part of why Wiggins has been so good for the Thunder. Yep. Because he is a really smart cutter. That's why Kenrich has been so helpful to this team whenever he's playing with the starters, is because he does know how and when to move offensively. You know, this team is not going to necessarily thrive with some standstill corner three-point shooter. You know, you want somebody that can actually attract the defense a little bit. And so they have some guys on the team that can help with that, but not to an elite level. And so I think every team wants like a off-ball big shooter, you know, that can move around and, you know, drag the defense around with your ball handler, you know, kind of orchestrating everything. Like, yeah, they want that. I think everybody wants that. Those guys are really hard to find. Those guys they're not everywhere. Not every team has one. And so
no. And there are guys who can function as an off-ball guy as much as they are on ball. There are stars built like that. There's a star who just scored 50 points in a great game. That whenever KD was on the court, or whenever they had Iguodala or guys that were not good threats in terms of shooting, like Steph Curry was moving around like crazy. In a game where the defense plays you really tight, he gets into, hey, I'm also a very good at the ring guy, and just destroys the defense. So drafting a guy who has the ability to do both is important. That is why I think that Jordan Hawkins is not a perfect prospect, because he doesn't have that ability. He's actually a terrible finisher. So if you can get from J-Dub movement, like if he learns how to be more of a threat when he moves around, that is a win. I'm not saying that they have to get it via trade, but they have to implement more stuff where you can generate open tree off cuts or movement or stuff like that. Chet will help. Chet is able to move around, screen, relocate, and just nail jumper.
Yeah, Chet can be transformative to this offense.
Yeah.
I mean, he could really change everything about the way that we think about this Thunder offense and the way we think about the defense too. I mean, I think he will change a lot. I mean, he's picked number 2 in a good draft.
Yeah.
So I also would just hold like a lot of like opinions that we have about this team are going to change significantly next year. About the opinions that we have on every player are going to change as a result of it. You know, that's the way that it goes when you insert a player that has the gravity and skill set of Chet. Is like, oh, like Chet's supposed to be the number 2 guy on this team next to Shea, if not the number 1 guy on this team.
Oh, okay. No, because we were saying like we need to draft the best player for this team.
Yeah, and he still could be that. He still definitely could be that. And so that guy is going to change the way that we think about Giddey and everybody else. I think that he will help Giddey tremendously next year. Not that Giddey needs a ton of help, but he will help him a lot. He's going to give him a huge target to hit. And he's going to help J-Dub. He's going to help. I mean, can you imagine SGA with a pick and roll partner like Chet, a guy that can not only shoot from the outside, but finish around the rim? That's what they need. So just we've got to hold back a lot of our like strong opinions about this team until we can see it. And that's exactly what Sam was saying the other day was, you know, we're in observation mode. We'll see what things look like. We're going back to square one at the beginning of next year. I mean, he said all those things, and it's not for no reason. It's because they're about to change a lot of things because of Chet Holmgren, and they selected him. They had him targeted from the very beginning as their guy.
Yeah.
And that should change a lot of things for you in a very good way. And so, you know, we have a lot of feelings about physicality and about shooting and everything. And they're still going to have needs, you know, after next year is over. I think we'll more clearly understand what the needs are and what they can be. But until then, I think that you don't want to make big moves. Let's see. At JGG512, there seems to be some similarities between Bufkin and Mann in terms of their shiftiness, step back ability, etc. Besides the obvious difference of defense, can you explain where Bufkin would be superior in terms of skill and fit?
Superior is hard to say. I mean, I'm a believer on Bufkin, but Trey Mann had moments where you could see him being very successful and just didn't have continuity. So talent-wise, I'm not sure that Bufkin is that better compared to Trey Mann. I think that he's a better creator for others. He is more adept to that. I think he's less of a shooter, especially from pull-up. He can be as good as a spot-up shooter. Trey Mann is a great shooter. I don't know why he had this season, but I mean, he definitely knows how to take shots and to make them. So I'm not ready to say that Buffkin is a better player. I think where it differs is defense, yes, ability to create, and I think that he has a little bit of a better attitude at the rim. He's a little bit more efficient there, whereas Treyman really struggled due to size and strength. Size is similar, but strength is a bit different. I think that Buffkin is a bit more strong. I don't know if you feel that way as well.
Yeah, he just handles physicality a lot better than Trey ever did. And the passing stuff. Like those two things are probably the biggest differences between the two. Their mental makeup is quite different from what I've seen in Buffkin's interviews. Those are the things that I see that are different between those two, but they're similar. I mean, the idea would be the same.
Yeah,
where it's
get
like
a spark off the bench.
a scorer off the bench that could close games if you need him to. That's the same idea with Trey. So essentially, if you decided that Buffkin was your guy, you'd be almost punting the Trey Man project.
Yeah, which can happen.
Oh yeah, definitely. I just don't think that you can have Buffkin and Man and necessarily play them together. I just don't. I don't know. Long term, you don't. Maybe you could next year, but long term, I don't see it as like a solution. So, yeah, that would be part of that move. At OKC Skittles, does seeing Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen struggle, along with Kevon Looney's dominance on the boards during the playoffs, give you any concerns with only having Chet as the sole big man over an entire postseason? If not, how can they overcome that limitation?
I had an interaction with SportFan405 today on Twitter about that. I don't think that we have to worry about this. Yes, Kevon Looney played a very good game 2 nights ago. He was a monster on the boards. But Kevon Looney was on the floor quite a lot with Draymond Green. This is something that a team that spaces the floor in a certain way may not allow. Like if you have a guy like Chet Holmgren and guys that can shoot the basketball, it's really hard to play 2 big men. You can try, but if the shooters are good enough, then the effectiveness of those big men starts to be a little bit it's at least a question. And it's also about physicality. Like, yes, Looney is a strong dude, but there was a game against Embiid, who I can say it's much stronger than Looney, where OKC was able to play without a center for the entire game, and they won. Now, a game doesn't mean anything. A game where Looney just overpowers Sabonis, to me, is more about Sabonis than about Looney. Mm-hmm. So I'm not concerned. I just want to see how Chet plays, how he's able to box out. He doesn't have to take rebounds. He just has to box out. And like Key can take rebounds. Other guys can take rebounds.
Yeah.
So I don't think that we have to worry about this today. Capella will be gettable in a year and a half. If you really want a big man for cheap, wait 2 years when you are ready to compete. A guy like Noel, you can get him.
Those guys are always. I mean, think about Jarrett Allen. They got him for just a pick. You can find these guys. They're not expensive because they're not the most sought after commodity. And also, we don't know what the NBA will look like when this team is ready to compete. Like Steph Curry and those guys, like Steph is 35. When the Thunder are really ready to compete, he's probably going to be like 38. Like, is Steph really still going to be doing this? Like, I don't know. Like, is he still going to be good?
Maybe.
But Draymond and Clay won't be.
Yeah.
And, like, that's what makes that team so good is, like, their chemistry. And they just know how to play together. I mean, they played 23 minutes together yesterday. That's a ton. Starters never play that much together in the NBA. Never, ever. And they threw them out there because they knew that they could do that. They're not doing that in 3 years. This team is not going to be together in 3 years. So we don't know what we're competing against. We can't solve the problems of today for the Thunder roster without knowing what the problems of tomorrow are going to be. If you solve the problems of today, you might be like the Thunder. I think the Thunder had to solve the problems of today back when they did because the team was ready to win. But the problem was once they had solved the problems of today by getting Kendrick Perkins, oh
They create
crap,
other problems.
the problems of tomorrow, we're not ready to solve those.
Yeah. And also, I mean,
if they would have just held tight and maybe if the rebuild would have gone a little bit slower, they would have never traded for Kendrick Perkins. Because if they weren't good right when they were, and maybe they still kind of struggled to get their bearings about them before becoming a 50-win team, maybe the Warriors would have gotten here and be like, oh, that's the team that we need to go compete against. And maybe it doesn't mean you keep Jeff Green, but maybe that means that we go deal for another forward instead and make Ibaka our center.
Yeah, and if your problem is physicality, let me state this, and I'm quite confident in what I'm about to say. If you want to solve physicality from the outside of the team, then you're doing this very wrongly.
Yeah.
You need to have 5 out of 5 players playing with huge physicality. Steph Curry learned how to be physical before he won the first championship. He was terrible defensively, and then he started to bulk up, to be a little bit more physical, to be not the worst defender on the floor. And this is how Golden State was able to keep him, Clay, Draymond, and at times guys like who was that guy, the center, who killed the Thunder in a game. Why slips my...
In what
it was
year?
just I think it was 2016, 2015. I have it on my well, anyway, it will come. But anyway, they could play very offense-driven lineups because everyone was really physical. So I first need to see that from Giddey, from Shea, from everyone. Spades, Gudioni, yeah, that was him. Maurice Spades. I mean, I need to see that first, and then if that physicality is not enough, then I might add something.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a long way to go before we're trying to solve those problems. A long, long way to go. And I just wouldn't be trying to solve the problems of today right now, because what if like J-Dub takes a leap that we think he will, and Giddey takes another leap, and Shea is this all-NBA player like he is now, and then Chet comes in and he's an all-NBA player. You could change the NBA. Like the Thunder, I wouldn't predict this. I just think this is like definitely like a 1% outcome. I'm not saying I would predict it, but I also wouldn't limit myself right now, because what if this team is the one that changes everything? Because they have all these ball handlers, they have all these guys that can create, and teams can't keep up with them. And you can't have non-skilled players and non-quick players out on the Thunder. You know, doesn't matter how physical you are. This team is faster than you. They're smarter than you. They can all create. What if they're the ones that change the league? You don't want to pay a big man $20 million or $15 million. That's just big and physical. If, I just wouldn't do that. I just wouldn't do that at all. So I think that Thunder have an opportunity to kind of see this through and see where it goes. They may hit a crossroads where it's like, yeah, we're not good enough.
Yeah, it may happen.
It could be on the other end of the spectrum where it's not that they change the league, but it's like, man, we're not good enough. We need to use these assets to go get players that can help us be good enough. So be it. But they're not there yet.
No.
I am at KevBot is asking a terrible question. This is not good, Kevin. He asked about Ben Simmons. He's got 2 years left on his deal.
Oh, I saw that.
Might be the worst contract in the NBA. He's also the exact type of guy who could thrive in our current offense. He's not, though. He's not a guy that could thrive in any offense ever. Okay. It would take blank amount of first-round picks, assets, for the Thunder to trade for him this summer.
4
50
for the Nets to offload the contract.
4. Try 6. I'm not taking. I'm not. No. You got to give me all your stuff.
No, I don't think that he fits. I mean,
First of all, the
I'm really sad for
personality.
Ben Simmons, though.
The personality.
Yeah.
No way. No way. No way. Not happening. Never, ever. Never, ever, never, never, ever, ever, never, ever, never.
I
never,
love that
ever,
show, by the way. Cracks me up every single time.
Never would they. Never. Not even once.
Yeah. No. Do you remember that I vaguely suggest what is the value of Shea versus Simmons? Like, would you accept Shea for Simmons and 4 picks? And you said no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I said no.
Yeah.
Feel good about saying no.
Yeah. I don't think that I mean, there is not a number of picks that you could actually put on the table to make this works.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's just no.
Yeah.
And I don't want non-shooter, so adding Ben Simmons is actually a nightmare.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. You got that right. Let's see. If we jump up to 4, do you think we would try to trade back to get in the range with all the forwards?
No, I don't. I mean, first of all, I would be extremely curious to see if Presti drafts one of the Thompson brothers. I would really, really curious. I don't want them to trade back.
Amin Thompson is probably there at 4. It's probably Wemby,
Yeah.
Scoot, Brandon Miller going top 3. And so
Yeah.
you have the opportunity to take this 6'7", hyper athletic, good passer, good rebounder,
Terrible shooter.
terrible, like scary, bad shooter.
Yeah.
But a transition nightmare for other teams.
Yeah.
I mean, that is one where you are going to set your development back like a tad.
Depends. Heavily depends. Does
I
he
just
start?
think Amin Thompson is going to be is when he gets to the league, he would have to be a big part of what you're doing.
Oh, you need to start him. You just need to bench
That's what I'm
Dort.
saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, he has to be a big part of what you're doing. And I just think it's going to take a minute. I think it's going to take a minute for it to work for him. And that's okay. I'm not saying that it'll never work with him. It's just going to take some time. But boy, it really complicates the shooting stuff. Even he's way more complicates your shooting stuff than Dort does.
Oh yeah, he's just not. You can't allow him to take shots.
I know.
For the first 65 games, you just play him as a center on offense. And just need to do other stuff.
Yeah,
I would be curious. It would not be probably great to watch at times, but for that guy, he can be a guy who transforms whatever you do due to his physicality, his athleticism, and stuff like that. So can you imagine having Shea, Thompson, Giddy, J-Dub, and Chet, where nobody's shorter than 6'6"? That is your small ball. Or have 3 guys that are 6'8". Just I don't know. I would be curious. I would stay at 4 and try.
I would welcome it. I would welcome the chaos that would ensue. The talent level is really high. And also I've heard the character is really good with both those guys too.
Yeah.
And he's 20. He's not crazy young. You know, he's Giddy's age. Just really crazy to think about. But yeah, I think you stay there. I would not. I mean, Jarris might end up being a better pro just because maybe the shooting never comes around. But you at least have to.
Do you trust Jarris Walker's shot that much?
No. I mean, you
Yeah,
have
that's
this
the
group
point.
of like Jarris, Anthony Black, Amen Thompson. Like, whose shot do you trust the most out of those three?
I hate you.
I know.
You put me in a corner.
I know.
I'm not sure that I trust Jarris Walker's shot better than Amen Thompson. I mean, the percentage are the same. It looks better, but it's unreliable.
Mhm.
To
They're
the
all unreliable
same.
shooters. Yeah, they're all unreliable shooters. But
I think that the most reliable is your guy.
let's go. Talk to me.
I mean, of course, if what you want is meat, and they present you with I don't know, a strawberry, an apple, and then a fake burger, you say, okay, fake burger is close to meat, but it's not meat.
It's like a Salisbury steak.
What's
You ever
that?
had a Salisbury steak? It's basically
No,
just ground meat presented as a steak with gravy on it.
no, I never had that.
Yeah, good. Don't do it. Also, I would, if I was at 4, I would take Anthony Black. That's what I would do.
Really?
Yeah.
At 4?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
The dude is like
Okay.
such a rhythmic player. It's got great length. I would do it. That's one of the problems though with this draft is that like after 3, the players are so flawed. They have really, really big holes in their games. You know, like it is really tough. And so it's like pick your poison from 4
Yeah.
on. It's like, so what do you want? You want somebody who's hyper athletic that can create but can't shoot at all? Amen Thompson. You want a really, really smart player that's like a 6'7" point guard that can defend like crazy but has a really slow shot release? Anthony Black. You want the big, beefy 4 that can do a little bit of everything but is not a great shooter either. And I just don't like watching him play. Like, I just don't like watching him play. And that's no offense to Jarris Walker, but I just do not like watching him play. But he's there too. Grady Dick, like, doesn't provide a lot defensively or in any other areas, but the dude looks like he can be a lights out shooter. Cam Whitmore never even thought to pass one time in his whole life. You know, like, he's going to be there too. I mean, there's just, everybody is so flawed, and it's who can get to you have to try to predict the impossible here. It's who can get to the pro level, and whatever their weakness is, they can improve it enough. Who can improve their weakness enough for it to not matter? Like, can Amen Thompson improve his shooting enough to where it doesn't matter? Can Jarris Walker improve his shooting enough to where it doesn't matter? Same with Anthony Black. All 3 of those guys. Which one are you betting on to do that? Because I think the one that is able to do it is going to thrive, and they're going to be like, oh man, this is clearly the 4th best guy in the draft. I think it's going to be between those guys. I think those to me are the most skilled players there. And I just think that's how this is going to that's what's going to happen with those guys, is which one of these guys can actually figure out their shot. And whoever does, they're going to look like the steal of the draft, because boy, can those guys do a lot of other things. But do I know which one it's going to be? I have no idea. I have no clue.
No. Answering a question in the chat by a friend, James Anderson, he says that Anthony Black is a 30% three-point shooter and Jarris is a 35% three-point shooter. FYI, Jared Culver was a 35% college shooter. Never above 70% in free throws, and that is what you get. That is what you might get. That is why we are so low on Jarris Walker's shot, because he shot in the 60s, and that is a terrible tell. Now, I don't trust Anthony Black all that much. He's worse from 3. 70% on the free throws.
Line. Yeah, 70% from the free throw line, which is fine.
It's bad. It's a bit better, but bad.
It's not 60%. 60% is bad.
Yeah. Yes, Andrew.
Yeah.
Your guy is a bit better.
Yes, thank you.
You can have that.
Music to my ears. No, you're going to have to be okay with some kind of flaw
Mhm.
with all of these guys. And then again, like I said, predict which one is going to be the least flawed. Good luck. Good luck with that, because I don't know who it's going to be. This is why I also would not, kind of like in last year's draft, I would not totally advocate for trading up in this draft, because I'm not sure who is totally worth it to trade up for. And I felt a lot the same last year, where I was like, is there really somebody that's just so worth it to trade up for?
It was really costly last year. 3 picks to get to 11.
3 picks to get to 11. Yeah.
Yeah.
And was it worth it? We'll find out.
We'll find out.
But I don't know. We'll see. Somebody at 12 could be just as good.
Yeah, or better.
Or better than all these guys. And so
It depends on what you like. Like, if somehow they decide that Grady Dick was misused in college, and there is another creator that has to blossom in him, then maybe you trade up. I don't believe that to be true, by the way. It doesn't look like a guy who creates. But these are the things where you have assets. If you see that a guy like Grady Dick is the guy for you, then this is maybe a draft where it's a little bit easier to trade up, because last year it was not so easy. It was top 7 guys. Then maybe between 8 and 13, 14, you had this bunch of guys where they were flawed. There was nobody perfect. Sohan, no shot. Like there was Griffin, only shot. Big man. So trading in that area was possible. Maybe trading outside of the top 4 this year is possible. And you can be sure that if OKC jumps, it's because they saw something that it's something that they can't pass on.
Mm-hmm.
Which last year was J-Dub, and to a certain degree Jang. Now one is definitely a hit. The other one we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Looks like a hit. A hit.
He's a hit. You can call it. He's a hit.
We'll see.
The good thing is the Thunder don't have to hit on this pick in order for everything to work out for them. But boy, would it be nice. Boy, would it be nice. And I'm so intrigued. You know, the draft lottery is like 2 weeks away, and then we'll know for sure where they're picking, and we can go into more detail about what's going to happen. We'll know where everybody else is. It's an extremely important draft lottery, not necessarily for the Thunder, but for the NBA as a whole. It's really big, because somebody's going to go home extremely disappointed. I mean, Detroit, Houston, San Antonio, Charlotte, Portland all had really, really bad years. You know, Portland less so, but Portland compared to their expectations, it was terrible. But, you know, Detroit, Houston, San Antonio, Charlotte, one of those teams is likely to fall out. And somebody is going to jump up. It's happened every single year of these new flattened lottery odds, is that somebody outside of the top 6, 7-ish has jumped up every single year. And what that does is it leaves somebody extremely disappointed. It was the Thunder a few years ago. They were extremely disappointed. And so that's going to happen to somebody. It's going to shape the way that they think about their franchise. And, you know, luckily for the Thunder, they've got the pieces in place. And if they got great luck, amazing. If they don't, it's not really going to change the trajectory. This next draft is the trajectory is going to be changed for somebody. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, Detroit fell 2 spots last year. You know, they still got Jaden Ivey, so it worked out just fine. But because the top 5 was really strong, you know, I don't feel quite as certain about this next top 5. So it's going to be really interesting to see. So, thanks so much for all the questions. We didn't get to everybody's question, but we appreciate it. Maybe if I have some time, I'll go through and answer them on Twitter, the ones we didn't get to. But I hope you guys have an awesome day, and we will talk to you guys again on Wednesday.